welcome and good evening. Again, welcome to Anupali. It is always my pleasure to spend this time with you on a Sunday. I see it as a way of starting our week together, focused on our national development priorities. I look forward to this opportunity to share with you on a consistent basis and to include you always in the process of development. On to this program, I am continuing where we left off last week with our discussion on Dominica's foreign policy, and of course our foreign affairs. I have invited Dominica's ambassador to the United States and to the Organization of American States, OAS, Dr. Vince Henderson, to speak on the work he is doing on behalf of our country in the halls of diplomacy. He will speak on the very important issue of geothermal energy and our continuing efforts to secure a geothermal plant for the Commonwealth of Dominica. Again, you're invited to call in to interact with my guest, Dr. Vince Henderson, on 225-3400 and 611-3400. Let us welcome Ambassador Henderson. Good evening and welcome. Ambassador Henderson, good evening and welcome to Anupali.
And thank you very much for inviting me to your program, or I hate to say your show. Let's get the
right idea. I prefer the word program.
Good evening to all your listeners and viewers. I know you have an extensive following.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, how have you been though? I mean, well, of course, COVID has caused you not to be in Dominica for since the last general elections. What have you been occupied with over the last year, though, on behalf of the state of Dominica?
Well, PM, once again, I want to say many thanks for your kind invitation to be part of your program and to engage with the sharing of the progress our administration is making to improve the lives of our people in Dominica. As you're aware, I have been preoccupied with advancing Dominica's ambitions towards a full transition of renewable energy, moving away from the reliance on fossil fuel. And more in particular, I've been, since 2020, January 2020, I've been engaged as a senior advisor of the Dominica Geothermal Development Company. And of course, I have also served as lead negotiator for the government on geothermal development. Of course, this is in addition to my responsibility as ambassador to the United States and to the OAS, and as well serve as advisor to your government from time to time on matters in which I'm asked to advise. So it has been a very busy time. I have also used that time to sharpen some of my practical legal training, and that would better equip me to assist in the work I'm doing for Dominica, especially with regards to the many negotiations and legal agreements that we have to deal with in the geothermal development that we are pursuing.
Clearly, you've been very busy for your last year there. How have you been faring out, though, during this pandemic? How has COVID impacted your work?
Well, COVID has, has affected everyone everywhere in the world. And of course, I have gotten my fair share of it. One thing for sure, it has kept me away from Dominica, which is a bit unfortunate. But it has also, again, caused me to pivot from traveling to do some of the work that I have to do, especially negotiations with our partners, to reverting to using virtual connections and meetings. And of course, like everyone else, I am also suffering from the Zoom fatigue. But we've gotten innovative ways to do the things that we have to do. Fortunately, most of the work I've been doing for geothermal negotiations, OAS meetings, engagement with the US can all be conducted virtually. So for me, it really hasn't been that bad.
No, and of course, I mean, whenever you want your vaccine, you can come to Dominica for your vaccine.
Well, I know it's easier to get in Dominica than in Canada.
Okay. Now, first of all, where does this project stand, the Dominica Geothermal Project? I mean, a lot of people have great interest in this project. Can you tell us where does this project stand as of tonight?
Well, Prime Minister, as you're aware, in 2019, we were well on our way to getting our project started. We went to tender. We got 2 qualifying bids, and unfortunately, both of them were about twice the estimated cost of the project and twice the amount of funds that we had secured from grants and the World Bank concessional loan. So we had to go back, and the World Bank decided that they canceled the process and would have to start again. So since then, we took the opportunity. We were able to analyze the bids that we got from the bidders to determine why the bids were so high. And a lot of them complained that the long run that we had to build a pipeline for 4 kilometers from all the way Loda to Wharton and then to Trafalgar. And after what they had seen post-Hurricane Maria, they felt that the risk involved was so high that the cost of the project, just rocketed. So we had to analyze that, discuss our options with the World Bank to see what options we had to move forward. We engaged advisors from Iceland, from Italy. We engaged prospective vendors and developers in discussions to see how we could move forward, and that was a way of doing our market soundings. We discussed the options with development partners because we had grant money from the UK, so we wanted to ensure that they continue to support the project. And we prepared a new roadmap for the development of geothermal in the Roosevelt Valley to minimize the risk, to reduce the project cost, and to maximize the output of the geothermal plant, and to accelerate work towards the development of a larger plan for export of power to our neighboring French territories of Martinique and Guadeloupe. So that took us some time, PM, and as you're aware, and thanks to you for your approval on our new roadmap, the new design, and the new partners that we brought on, so that right now we are at an advanced stage of implementation of the geothermal project and associated works. And it is a very exciting opportunity for Dominica.
Yeah. Now, how much progress, though, we've made in the exploratory phase of the project? And how much work has been done on the site?
Well, PM, I know sometimes this thing sounds like people may be tired of hearing it, but leadership matters, and unfortunately for Dominica, we've had the same leader for a while. That has great benefit for geothermal, and as a researcher in energy policies, I can say that makes a difference. So for us, we are very fortunate because we had already done our assessment of the resource, the exploration in the early days, as you recall. And we have proven that we have sufficient quality and quantity of the resource to make commercially viable project. So we have the potential to generate over 120 megawatts of electricity in the Roosevelt Valley. And to put that in context, Domlec only has about 26 megawatts of generation capacity between hydro and diesel. So we can provide Domlec with 5 times what they need, let's say. And therefore, for us to fully utilize that resource, we have to consider the export part of it. So Dominica has done pretty well in the exploration, and we're sure that we have the resource, we have proven it, and we're ready to go.
Now, in respect to cost, though, how costly has it been for Dominica?
Well, one of the things I want to just say, if you allow me the time, just to say that geothermal projects are not very popular. There's not been many of them. Especially there's been only one in the Caribbean, that was in Buoyant since the 80s. There have not been any geothermal project in Guadeloupe. Yes, that's right. Sorry, in Guadeloupe. But there's been no geothermal project in any independent state, small island state. So if you go to the Azores, you get geothermal plants, but that's again not an independent state. Because geothermal projects are very expensive upfront. The cost is high, and it takes a long time. So we have so far, as I said, we have proven the resource, and we've done quite a bit. So we have invested about $25 million to date, and you were generous enough to make most of this funds available. But fortunately for us, you were also able to mobilize a lot of these funds from grants. So what we've actually spent is maybe about $5 million US from local funds, and that is a commitment that you gave from the inflows of the CPI to finance the geothermal project. So we have put in, like I said, about $5 million US for the acquisition of lands, for the operations of the geothermal company. And we would expect the rest of the funds now for the actual project will come from our partners, who will be bringing in about $25 million in equity. That is their own money. And the balance of the funds we will get from lenders, such as the World Bank. We will use the grants from the UK, the United Kingdom, funds that we've been able to secure. SIDS-DOC Trust Fund, so that's about $12 million in grants. And then we have already been in discussions with the Caribbean Development Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank to utilize their green climate funds that are in CDB to finance the actual construction of the plant. So Dominica is not going to put forward any more money because we have already made the upfront investment, as you recall, and we already have the wells, we already have the lands, and that is our contribution to the project. And we won't be coming to you to write up any check except for the maintenance of the geothermal company to ensure that we can provide the support that we need.
I know, Vince, I mean, we have many partners who have worked with us on this initiative, of course, starting with the Organization of American States in the initial days. I mean, can you enlighten our audience on with regards to the partners that we've been working with on this geothermal project and this journey over an extended period of time?
Well, yes. Over the years, we've had, as you said, the OAS was one of the first partners to come forward and assist us in assessing the resource. Well, not the first because it was the UNDP back in 1969, but in recent times, we've had the OAS. The World Bank has been a partner with us. The World Bank has provided tremendous support. They've helped us to build most of the infrastructure that we have. That is to say, in terms of the competence that we have in geothermal now at the DGDC. They have also assisted us in the administration of grants that we have been able to secure, like I said, from the UK, from the SIDS-DOC Trust Fund. The government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland have provided 10 million in grants to us.
So 10 million, yeah. We need to qualify the currency though.
In US dollars, sorry. Yeah. I am so, I'm spoiled.
I know your cost.
We're only talking in US dollars.
Yeah. But we still deal with EC here in Dominica, so.
Yeah. So that is a 26 million EC dollar grant that we've received from the UK. $2 million from the organization that I helped to create, SIDS-DOC. That money is still available to us, and we've been able to get an extension after we had the delay in 2019. So last year, we got an extension from our partners. The Caribbean Development Bank and the IDB have come on as partners in recent times, and they covered the cost of our ESIA, the addendum that we had to do, and to ensure the environmental and social safeguards. So they've covered the cost for that. I am not sure, I assume you only want to talk about development partners.
No, not at all. I mean, we have New Zealand, we have the Agence Française de Développement, the French government.
In the past, that's right. Yeah. We had the EU committee, the EU. We had the EU provided most of the funds early days. The Agence got the Conseil General of both Martinique and Guadeloupe contributed through so that we could use the EU funds through the Interreg. And of course, New Zealand had provided us with about $2 million in grants to help us to develop the actual geothermal plan. And we're using it today as we move forward. And therefore, we have been able to use all those partnerships to help us to get to where we are today.
And of course, the President Clinton and his organization.
Yes.
And the many individuals who were very much involved in this, the law firm out of New York, I believe. Yes,
we had two of them from New York, Proskauer. So they were brought to us by the Clinton Foundation for the Clinton Climate Initiative, and they contributed over $1 million, actually $1.5 million in legal services. First it was Proskauer, and then Holland and Knight. So we were able to get their services free of charge to us, but they were paid by the Clinton Foundation. We also recently got assistance from the Clinton Foundation, by the way, because before we had to do a network stability study on the DOMLEC network, and they paid for that. They paid the consultants for us in December of last year, and we have the results now, and that will help us to move forward in our efforts.
Now, what are the expected benefits, though, to Dominica and, of course, indeed, the citizens of Dominica when this project comes to fruition?
Well, let me just say this. I said upfront that it was, costly, time and time consuming to develop geothermal. But on the plus side, geothermal energy can be built with zero emissions, operate with zero emissions, can serve as baseload power. It's always available. So unlike solar PV and wind technologies, you always have geothermal. Once you crank the turbines, that's it. You use the steam to power them, they keep working. And normally plants will have a life of about 40 years. It does not require batteries and battery storage and so forth, and therefore it is good baseload. And it is the only way that Dominica can really transition in a very efficient way from diesel generation to renewable energy. So that that is overall benefit. Direct benefit to Dominicans and consumers, clearly we will see a reduction in tariff. I hate to say how much, I don't like to qualify these things because you never know until it's done. And I don't want somebody to remind me 2 years, 3 years from now that I said it's 40 or 50%, and that's not the case. But what we know for a fact is that it will cost us about half of what it costs Domlec to produce energy using diesel generators. So that already we know. Domlec, however, will still be responsible for transmitting the power to people. In other words, they will take it from loader at the geothermal power plant, and they will distribute it throughout Dominica. They will not be able to make any profits on it. They will have to treat it just as a fuel surcharge. The only thing is that fuel surcharge goes up and down. Geothermal will not go up and down. We will know what the price will be over time, and that is what we'll negotiate with Domlec. So we will see a real benefit to consumers. We will see a reduction in the cost of electricity. And if the other things that we're working on, which you're aware of, and we can talk about, as we go down, the transmission lines and so forth that we're looking at, if we can get this done, it means we can maximize the use of geothermal power and really significantly reduce the cost of electricity.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the challenges, though? I know you mentioned the issue of we going to tender and the bids coming back twice the estimated cost of the project. But what are some of the other challenges which have caused the delay of the implementation of the geothermal project?
Well, since we got to that stage last January when we canceled the bids, we had to start again. As I said, it took some time. So basically, the delays have not been on for since then because we knew that it would take time to re-engage new partners. So our commercial partners, we are in a process of negotiations that started in April of 2020. So that will take some time. We have had to also renegotiate with the World Bank, as you will recall, PM. It was really a tough one. Yeah. And again, thanks for your leadership and your support in that. We were able to get the World Bank on our side, and unfortunately, we were able to secure our $12 million grant, that facility that is being administered by the World Bank. So negotiations, securing those things. Importantly as well, the environment and social impact assessment studies that we had to do, the environment and social safeguards that we had to put in place, those things take time. So last year we started that process, and there's also a requirement from our partners that the ESIA must be disclosed for 120 days before money can be disbursed. So that again is not really a delay, but it takes time. So for us to get access to the funds, we have to complete the ESIA, make it available publicly. And by the way, we publish on January 29 this year. So it's there. It's on IDB website. It's on CDB website, Geothermal, Dominica Geothermal Company, the government website. It's up there for comments. So after the 120 days, then we can actually move to disburse funds and start spending most of the monies that we've already secured. There are also some work that we need to do on upgrading Domlec's network. So that is also taking some time, and we are also advanced in our efforts in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Now, you referenced the environmental impact assessment report, and the, can you, though, speak to some of the main findings of this report?
Well, so far, because let me just say this, we've been doing this for a while in the Valley. And as a matter of fact, we've had about 30 meetings, consultations in the Valley with the community, with focus groups. We've engaged since 2017, we've had actually 40 meetings, and we've had school engagements. We've had 5 of those where we meet with students and the principals and staff and talk to them about the project. So we've listened to them. The ESIA has highlighted some issues. So for example, there was a big concern over where we're going to drill the next well. Some people felt it was too close to the cliff down over the Trafalgar. We've had to pull that back. There have been concerns raised, questions raised. People talk about vibrations, people talk about tremors. So we've had to bring in the experts. We now have been in discussions with the US seismic unit, and they will be in Dominica in April, so that we can again ensure that we have proper monitoring of any seismic activity, so we know that what measures to be taken. We have also engaged a full-time staff on the GDC staff, who is an expert in environment and social safeguards. Lynn John Fontenelle has been with us, and she has a team, people like Alan Toussaint, Gary Shillingford from the Valley as well. So we have been able to get the comments out of the ESI, especially from the community engagements, because there's been no concerns raised about that biodiversity or anything of that sort, because we've had those things in place. We've had concerns raised by UNESCO about the World Heritage Site. We have ensured that we kept the buffer zone. We have a buffer area between our activities and the World Heritage Site, so that can protect the requirements from UNESCO. So all the concerns that have been raised by the public and things that would normally come up, we have addressed them, and we will continue to monitor. We have a special, as they call it, we have our own plan to minimize impact and to monitor over time. So those things are in place, and we'll ensure that we protect the environment, the lives and livelihoods of our people in the Roosevelt Valley.
Yeah. So the other thing, Vince, I mean, we have developed a resettlement action plan that considers changes in land use, in land acquisition, livelihood restoration for the project. How have we, though, sought to engage with residents of the Roosevelt Valley who are likely to be affected where these matters are concerned?
Well, we've had active engagement. As I said, we've had over 45 meetings since 2017. So from 2020, actually, we had 10 of those. Now, what we've done is that we've always consulted the entire community. So not only the landowners from whom we would want to acquire land, we would normally meet with the entire community. We have ensured that no land is acquired without consultation. We ensured also agreements on compensation packages are always based on negotiations with property owners or the occupiers, even when they don't have titles. We also consulted the occupiers and their representatives. The compensation included resettlement and livelihood restoration costs. As you will recall, we've had that in cabinet some years ago. It was the first time we actually implemented what is called OP21 from the World Bank. And we have ensured that we've put in place the cost for replacement, restoration of livelihoods and so forth. And now we are considering a special annual community support package from the project to go to the community.
Vince, hold your point there. Let us take a caller. Caller, please.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening to you.
Yes, given the fact that Dominicans will benefit tremendously from the geothermal energy, and the fact that Dominic will have do not have all the capacity for the all electricity generated, is there any prospect for export to the neighboring islands? Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, caller. Vince?
Yes, well, this is so good. This is one thing that again, I wasn't sure how far I should go with this, but
you could finish your first point, and then we could come to this question if you wish, or if you want to answer it now, it's fine.
Sure, because I would like to also add that we just recently we started carrying out an accommodation survey in the valley to find out what accommodations are available so that when the contractors come to do the work, the valley will get priority. We also conducting what is called a skills survey to identify the skills that are available in the Roosevelt Valley to provide the vendors on the project, so whoever providing services to us and who will be carrying out works, so that the residents of the Roosevelt Valley will get priority in employment if the skills are available there. So just to indicate clearly as part of our plan. Yeah. Now, of course, we need a partner. We need to get to the exports. And this is one of the reasons why we have engaged in negotiations with a consortium of French companies to develop the domestic plan, but also to move quickly to export. Because we have a great opportunity here to secure royalties from the sale of power from geothermal to the French territories. And that is something that we've been pursuing for years. The pre-feasibility studies were done, and it has been proven that it is a commercially viable proposal as long as the resource is available in the right quantities. So more work has to be done, but we are pretty much ahead in our negotiations with a consortium of French companies that will move quickly to develop an export plan, and we will be able to get royalties from the sale of power.
Now, there's a question via WhatsApp. It says, good night, Prime Minister, and good night, Ambassador Henderson. Question, will there be the opportunity for another carrier to carry, besides Domlec, electricity using the same lines?
That is a question for the IRC, but I will say what we have been doing so far, that is to say, I have been leading the process on the behalf of the government. We have been negotiating with the World Bank and with Domlec in consultation with the IRC, that is the Independent Regulatory Commission for Electricity, for government itself to be able to construct transmission lines from the Roosevelt Valley to Fokole so that we can take the geothermal power to Fokole and from Fokole to Sugarloaf. That investment hopefully will be done by the government of Dominica, and those lines will be leased to Domlec. The challenge with other carriers is because of the nature of the regulatory framework in Dominica. That is to say, the Domlec has exclusive license to transmit and distribute power. And that, as far as I'm aware, is a 25-year license that they got in 2013 and will continue for the life of that license. As I said, that is a question for the Independent Regulatory Commission, but as government, to ensure we optimize the geothermal power, that is to say, to use all the power that we generate, we realize that we need new transmission lines. So we have already done feasibility studies. We have looked at the network, see what voltage is required, where we need to go, and work is being done on that as we speak. So that is a matter. That is how we ourselves can approach it. There's not much we can do besides that.
Great. Now, the government established the Dominica Geothermal Development Company, mainly to explore interest in the responsible exploitation of Dominica's geothermal resource. How is the company currently engaged in furthering those interests?
Yeah, I said some time ago publicly, and I've been saying that for a while, sometimes we make too many things seem so easy. So before I respond to that, I want to remind you that you recall in 2015, after we get hit by Tropical Storm Erika, and our French partners had pulled out. Remember what you said to me? When I brought the report to you and told you where we are, and I made recommendations on how I think we should move forward. You said to me then, comrade, let's go ahead and build our plant. And as a result, I went ahead and assisted in setting up the Dominica Geothermal Development Company. And you committed then $15 million you said from the CBI funds. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
No,
yeah.
I was after Erika. Then we got hit by Maria. You still decided we will remain committed to this and will provide as much as we can. To date, you have given us $5 million and we have not asked for more. You've given us what we've asked for so far, and we're very, very grateful. So today, thanks to UPM, DGDC is running, and I would dare say on all cylinders. not many cylinders because it's a small staff, but very effective. We're nimble and agile, and we're able to provide the skills that we need to move the project forward. And those skills that we don't have, we contract from time to time. And really, pretty much at this juncture, you know, I really want to thank the board of directors. We have, of course, the inaugural board that was chaired by Mr. Clarence Christian. We've had Dr. Eddie Scotland, who's been on the board from the inception, Nelson Pierre, Fred John, who is now the chairman, and Fred is also the managing director and spent over a year giving us community service, helping us to negotiate and to move this process forward. So I want to really thank the board of directors, and our newest member from the Valley should be joining us soon, Joanne Dawe Ballot, and we look forward to embracing her as she comes to join us. So we've been operating pretty good so far, Pierre.
Now, the next question I have for you coincides with a question via WhatsApp. So I'll prefer to read the WhatsApp question mine, because basically it's a question. It says, "Good night, PM. Do you have a timeline as to the operating date on this project?"
Well, boy, you know my nervousness with this, but I will take my chances, because I like to tell people that geothermal is not an easy thing. Remember, you have to drill almost a mile down to get that steam. But really, truly, where we are now, we feel confident that we can deliver a geothermal power plant by December 2022. And why I think we can do this is because we are now at the stage of finalizing our negotiations with our partners. We have 5 main agreements that we've been working on since April of 2020. And our target is to complete them by March 31st, 2021. Civil works for wells will begin in May 2021. By the way, we are out already. We went out to tender since on February 6th. We went out to tender for drilling of the new wells. We also went out to tender last week for civil works that we expect to begin in May. So we're pretty much on our way. We have received the tenders for the actual construction of the power plant and its installation, and we hope to award a contract by the end of March. We are now negotiating the term sheets to finalize the terms of the contract. We are also at an advanced stage of negotiations for the financing. All our lenders have already submitted their term sheets. They will begin their due diligence next month, and we will do negotiations so that we can have a close sometime in May or June. So we expect the actual plant construction to start immediately after we've drilled the first well, because we're doing 2 wells this time. And so we really expect to see work starting in the coming months. This year, it will take 18 months to really install the power plant. And we are looking forward to getting the plant by the end of 2022. So we're pretty much on target.
No, Vince, I mean, I'm hearing the public saying to me in my ears, you know, we've heard these dates before, yes, we have our challenges, but they're saying, can we rely on those dates?
Okay, so here's why I think we can rely on those dates. And that's a good question. But here's why I think we can rely on those dates. We've been through this before. Unfortunately, and Frank, I'm very grateful, PM, for the opportunity to do this. And most people have been asking, where Vince? This is where Vince been. And honestly, I have told you, and I'm happy that you've agreed, that I don't want to be distracted. I don't want to do much else. I want to focus on this because I have been doing this from the start, from the inception. So I have, as they will call it, institutional memory and know-how over the years. But this time around, here's what we're faced with. We have greater confidence ourselves because we have had more experience doing this. So we've learned through the process. We've secured greater commitments now from our partners. We have greater leverage now than we had before because we bring more to the table. We have made more progress than in prior negotiations and development. So this time we know for a fact what the plant is going to cost. So the problem we had the last time, we had our estimates. When we went to the market, the company said, no, that's too cheap. It's going to cost you twice. This time we have received the tenders from the companies. We have agreed on the technical design and technical aspects of those tenders. So we know what it's going to cost. The negotiations that are taking place is more in terms of terms and conditions. So we know already. So for sure, we are on target. And this is why we can say our cost for selling power will be half what it costs Domlec to generate, from diesel. So we know that for a fact. We have now engaged owners engineers who are working with us. The plant has been designed. As I said, the tenders have gone through. We are now at an advanced stage of finalizing everything. Domlec is supportive and cooperative in getting a power purchase agreement to be amended, to take more power, and also to do the system upgrades for the transmission lines. So this time around, and PM, also, we have positioned ourselves in such a way that in the event that we have any fallout with our partners, we can easily continue our work with the CDB, for example, getting the GCF funds, the IFC from the World Bank Group, and to ensure that we can get the financing that we need to just get the projects that continue if in the event that we may have any unfortunate falling out with our partners. So this time around, I mean, having done this before, that's my third time. They say third time is a charm. And I can tell you, this time around, we have done more. We have secured more guarantees for us. And I am confident that we are definitely going to do this. If we fall past December 2022, I don't think it will be much longer than that.
Now, Vince, a question from the Facebook page, from my Facebook page. It says, you, Ambassador Nelson, you said the plant will last for 40 years. What happens after those years? Will not the plant be obsolete?
Well, that's an interesting question. So when I say 40 years, it's what you expect as the life. But I have been to geothermal power plants that were built in the 60s, right? So what is done normally, there's a maintenance, regular maintenance, planned maintenance as it's called. And there's also overhaul, major overhauls, which happen maybe once or twice in the life of the plant. But the good thing about a geothermal power plant is that you can extend the life as long as you have the right pressure and temperature from the steam that you get in there, that you can continue to operate that plant with frequent maintenance and overhaul. So those geothermal power plants can go for a very long time. And as I said, I have been to power plants that have been installed since the 60s.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, Vince, I want to thank you on the geothermal front, and I want to say to the country that we as a country, we're very fortunate to have you leading this, your understanding of the geothermal energy development thrust, and your absolute commitment to this project. And I think young people certainly need to emulate people like yourself. You're still very young, and the contribution you have made in your short time on Earth thus far, I mean, is nothing short than amazing, and as you know, I don't give people marks for free, but I say so with the greatest of sincerity that Dominica is very fortunate to have people like yourself, and being constructive, being positive. We have a final question on geothermal, and we'll move to the person there. Hello.
Greetings.
Yeah, greetings to you, sir.
Comrade Prime Minister, greetings to Comrade Vin. It sounded a little frightening in terms of the distance for drilling. I heard Vin said the drilling is almost a mile deep. And we know the risk and so on, people getting trapped and so on. So this is a bit like that. So how that will be done, who will be undertaking such a troublesome and difficult task. Another thing again is to get the energy to what look and massive. What's the formula? Is it stable under the sea? Will it be done by submarine? I don't know what to do.
Okay, thank you, caller. Vince?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. When I said drill, and by the way, we have drilled 5 wells in Dominica already. So we know how this is done. We have people on staff, people like Dalton Hill and the rest of the team. Lynn was there, and then I remember Alexis George was a member of our team back then, and they know and they're familiar. They've seen it done. We've drilled 5 wells in the Roosevelt Valley so far without accident. Also, what the gentleman's referring to, that is more for mining. You don't get those kind of accidents in geothermal. What you could get, unfortunately, happened recently in Indonesia, I think it was, where you had gases escaping in the drilling. But one of the things that we are, thank God, we deal with the World Bank, we deal with the IDB, we deal with the IFC. Their requirements are so high. And the French companies also have to meet the requirements of the state of France as far as environment protection is concerned. So we will have in place a number of safeguards to avoid accidents. And we have been studying, actually, our managing director wrote to one of our consultants expressing concerns, about any accidents that may take place and what it is that we can do. We also have health and safety experts. Dr. Scotland is an expert in that field himself. And we will have, so for example, several monitors on the platform, the geothermal platform, to monitor anything that is happening, to ensure that we will protect everybody in the community and the people who are working at the time. So there'll be sensors on the drilling platform. There will be things that will be monitored 24/7 to ensure that we know what is going on there. So there's nothing to worry about as far as that is concerned. The connection to the French territories will be via subsea cables. And as I said, the studies have been done. This is not new. That has been done several parts of the world where power is being evacuated from one place to another. It happens in the Pacific, in the North Atlantic. I mean, this is old technology. And now, as we see in Denmark, they're building wind farms at sea and bringing the power to shore. So that will be done by the French. It will cost about 100 million euros, but they're prepared to make that investment themselves.
Yeah. Now, thank you, Vince, on the geothermal front. I would like to shift gears to your other responsibility, that of our ambassador to the United States and to the Organization of American States. Now, in January of this year, you attended the inauguration of the U.S. President Joe Biden. I mean, what are your hopes for this new administration in relation to CARICOM and Dominica?
Well, PM, we celebrated the election of President Biden, and of course, Vice President. We chaired the election of Vice President Kamala Harris, being the first female Vice President in the United States, and also a sense of pride because, of course, of her Caribbean heritage, her father being from Jamaica. So for us, it was really a proud moment. Of course, also as an ambassador, I'm not supposed to take sides, so I'm not Republican or Democrat. But for those achievements, we had to celebrate because for us, we know what to expect from a U.S. presidency. I mean, overall, we know the American interest is first, and therefore our benefits really come from 2 main things. One, when our interests align, as in the case with President Biden's administration, where we align on climate change. So the Democrats and the Biden administration have been very supportive to actions in the international community on climate change, and that is a big deal for us. 2, multilateralism. This administration has signaled already that it believes in multilateralism. It believes in the United Nations and its organs, and we're very happy that they're back in the WHO. Very, very happy. This is great news for us because small island developing states with very limited resources, we rely on multilateralism, the efforts of multilateral organizations like the WHO, the WTO, the World Trade Organization. We saw President Biden removing the impediment in the way of the elections of the first woman Director General of the WTO, the Nigerian minister, former minister, who is now the head of WTO. So for us, it is refreshing because it brings sort of a renewed decency and respect in diplomacy. And that is important for small states because we don't have guns and bombs. And we don't have the might, we don't have the resources. And therefore, we need a US administration that can at least listen to us. Now, I said when President Obama was elected, and people criticized me for that, I said he was the president of the United States of America, not necessarily of Black people in the US or anywhere in the world. So of course, the American interest comes first. I would say in this case, however, we are happy that we don't have a bully trying to take our recess in the playground, but at least we have people who can have a decent conversation with. So Prime Minister, I think it's refreshing. Back in the Paris Climate Agreement is great news for the world. Is great news, even better, for small island developing states, for whom, of course, climate change is an existential threat. So for us, it is great news. And the tone, of course, is something that we welcome and embrace.
Certainly. But from your perspective as well, though, how would you characterize Dominica-US relations?
Well, we've had, cordial, as some would say, but I have to say, if it's been better than that, we've had great relations with the US. Because, behind the scenes, there are among the things that we've agreed on. And I remember listening to you last week, and I know for a fact, because when I served at the UN, we supported and even in sometimes co-sponsored resolutions that were sponsored by the US. So we have worked well in a number of areas, in the area of security, for example, in the whole entire Caribbean region, we work well. So our relations, I find we have strong relations with the US. We're not always invited to every party, every reception, as we've seen in the past. At you too, I guess you have not received your invitation. But really, truly, apart from that, we meet occasionally. I had a meeting recently with the new head of the Caribbean division, and again, a very progressive discussion. And even during the previous administration, we worked well. The only place we couldn't agree is when it came to the OAS on Venezuela.
That's right. And
at the UN on Cuba. Those two, we just could not get any agreement on, and we understand that. And BM, you are an expert in when it comes to navigating the intricacies of international relations, and we have been able, in spite of all disagreements, to maintain those relations with the US.
And on the Venezuelan front, as you know, we supported the constitutional elections in Venezuela. Some people disagree on this, and it was from this principal vantage point which we were very firm on the issue of Venezuela. Now, in many instances, and most recently with the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen our Latin American friends step up for us in many tangible ways. How important is it, in your view, to maintain our existing relationships with Venezuela and Cuba?
Yeah, again, I those days I find, maybe because I've been out of the ground, as they would say. Maybe I sound too much like a lecturer. But yeah, I think really, when it comes to this issue about the relationship with Venezuela, with Cuba, I think it's deeper than the way sometimes it is phrased. And let me explain, if you allow me, just a minute, I won't take long. Our relations with Venezuela and Cuba are built upon shared and mutual interests. Interest in development of our people, to social justice, social equity, things like what you're doing here in housing, in the access to education, to healthcare, free healthcare, things that Cuba and Venezuela stand for. Mm-hmm. And when you think about a Dominican Labour Party led by Roosevelt Skerrit, with that agenda of social justice and equity to provide for those who cannot provide for themselves, we share those values with Venezuela and Cuba. And I believe that our relationship is built on that. But more so, these relationships are built on the people who are the face of those countries. So in other words, I would not expect the same relationship with Venezuela if, for example, there was some, God forbid, some major change in administration that changes direction. Because our partnership is built upon our shared and mutual interest in people's development. Mm-hmm. What is normally referred to, and some people try to make it sound like a bad thing, a socialist agenda, where we believe that people should have access to basic social services. So I think it is important for us to maintain those relations because, for example, Cuba, I consider Cuba to be the conscience of the Americans. Cuba is the conscience of the Americas because in a world that is becoming so capitalistic and individualistic, Cuba continues to ensure that we can provide for others. So with healthcare, remember our Miracle Eye program? Even my grandmother, when she was 80 something, went there. You know, the Miracle Eye program. We've seen the training of professionals from since 1978.
Yeah.
And so Cuba and Dominica share that common interest, which I believe we need to definitely maintain because it helps us to better understand who we are as a people and what government should be doing for people.
And you know, Vince, of course, Dominica's foreign policy, people don't guess where we stand, and we don't play games. We don't tell somebody something at night and next morning we tell somebody else something differently. We're very transparent with our friends. We are very straightforward. We're respectful with our friends and our partners, the US and our friends in Europe and elsewhere. And this is how we believe relationships must be established. So certainly we look forward to strengthening the bonds of ties, the bonds between the United States and Dominica. And I know the Minister of Foreign Affairs is having a meeting with the ambassador on Wednesday, and we'll continue those discussions, and of course yourself in Washington. Now, Vince, we, as you know, have been working on the construction of the international airport, which we hope will certainly boost economic fortunes by opening up many avenues for investment and business activity. How important do you think this project is for Dominica?
Well, I think we have everything in good time. We are at the perfect time to move Dominica into that stage of constructing the international airport. And I say this because we made some recent investments in accommodation facilities, the new hotels. I mean, look at Dominica now. We are ready. We are in a situation where I am so confident that the old saying, the Las Vegas saying, build it, they'll come. Oh, yes, they'll come. And they have places to stay when they come. So I think all these debates about when we should have and shouldn't have, we are very fortunate that we are moving forward with this project. And most importantly, without putting any undue burden on the taxpayers, which I think we should never forget. And so this is something that I'm excited about and I look forward to. And I believe that the international brands that we now have, the Kempinski brand, the Hilton, the Marriott, those brands and those local, boutique hotels that have made a name for themselves, like Secret Bay, Jungle Bay, and Rosalie Beach. I mean, they will definitely play a major role in ensuring that we can fill the aircraft to come to Dominica. Because the risk we had before is whether we could even get airlines to get flights to Dominica if we had an international airport, because where would people be staying? So I think it's an exciting time for us, and Prime Minister, I want to commend you and your administration for moving forward with this project.
All right, thank you. Vince, finally though, before we part ways, I also wanted you to weigh in on our efforts as a country to acquire COVID-19 vaccines for our population. Where do you stand, Ambassador, on taking the COVID-19 vaccine?
My member, you're making me grudge you there, I wish I could just get a shot. But no, but
we're actually going to St. Joseph tomorrow. And we'll be there for the entire week.
I was talking to my brother and some of the guys on the block, and I'm encouraging them to make sure they go in and get their shot very early. Yeah. And I'm very happy for that. But I want to commend you for that. That is a major achievement. And again, I keep saying one of my only problems is that you make these things look too easy. I mean, it's a major thing because we're talking at a time when countries are really fighting, holding on. There is, as it is referred to, I mean, vaccine nationalism, is something that you hear these days. Even here in Canada, I've seen they've had serious difficulties procuring the vaccines, and their programs have been severely affected because of the shortage of supply. So what you've been able to achieve is something that is remarkable. What I would hate to see, however, is that we do not quickly get to herd immunity because of perhaps a hesitancy, a reluctance for people to get their jabs. And I really urge all of us as responsible citizens, we're doing it for ourselves, we're doing it for our country. We need to ensure that your efforts can be complemented by ensuring that those of us who can get vaccinated, go ahead and get vaccinated. So I want to congratulate you, Prime Minister, and your administration for this major effort.
Ambassador Dr. Vince Henderson, thank you very much for this enlightenment on geothermal and, of course, our foreign policy. We really thank you for the time, and we'll certainly get back to you so you can give us an update in the next couple of months on our geothermal project in particular. So God bless, stay safe, be warm out there. I know it's very cold.
Yes.
We shall continue to communicate. Thank you, God bless you and your family.
Thank you.
All the best. Thank you.
All the best.
Well, we have but a few minutes. Yesterday, I actually went whale watching, and I actually was in the water, and I was about 5 feet away from a huge whale. Whale must be weighing about 60 to 70,000 pounds. Amazing experience, some miles off Dominica. I'm hoping I'll share some photographs and some video with you at some point. It was an amazing experience. On the issue of our vaccine implementation plan, on Monday, Dominica begins the next phase of the vaccine implementation in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. The Ministry of Health will commence vaccination of its priority target groups at all 7 health districts. The Ministry of Health has arranged for vaccinations to take place from Monday this week, Monday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. That is from Monday to Friday. So Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And the main Type 3 health centers where the vaccines will be given are as follows: the Roosevelt Health Center, the Granby Health Center, the St. Joseph Health Center, the Castle Bruce Health Center, the Marigot Health Center, and the Portsmouth Health Center. To receive the vaccine, you are encouraged to contact the district nurse or visit the health centers mentioned by starting on Monday, February 22nd. That's tomorrow. You may also visit vaccineregistration.dominica.gov.dm to register. So vaccineregistration.dominica.gov.dm to register. Again, as I've said several times, this is not mandatory. It is not mandatory. However, I believe it is in your best interest, and in the best interest of your family, and in the best interest of our community, and in the best interest of our nation to get vaccinated. Let us not engage ourselves in all of this unnecessary talk about vaccine and conspiracy theories and all of this small talk that's taking place, not only in Dominica, but across the world. So this is a critical step in preventing and combating the spread of the disease. And let us engage in this. We have been through very difficult times with COVID-19, the whole of 2020, and certainly the whole of 2021 thus far. And the scientists are saying to us, the experts are saying to us, that vaccines will help us fight back against COVID-19. And in respect to the vaccines, it is for all of us in Dominica, for not only citizens of Dominica, but residents of Dominica. So our Dominicanos, our friends from the Dominican Republic, you can certainly get vaccinated. Our Haitian friends, you can get vaccinated as well. And all our wonderful people who are resident here, working or on vacation, we are prepared to extend these vaccines to you. This is a public good, and we need to ensure that everyone who would like to get vaccinated can get vaccinated. We have enough vaccines in Dominica to give 25,000 Dominicans a double dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Let us get the vaccines. In the next week and a half, 2 weeks or thereabout, we will receive some 20,000 doses of the Chinese vaccine. We have authorized it for national use, and we are offering this to Dominican citizens as well. And we expect to receive some more vaccines through the COVAX facility administered by the Pan American Health Organization, WHO. So my friends, let us get vaccinated. I was waiting to go to Vegas to get vaccinated in my home village. I am told that they will not go to Vegas itself, they'll go to Portsmouth. So on Tuesday, I will get vaccinated at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. It's important that we all get vaccinated. Let's do it for yourself, for your family, and for our country. And let me tell you something. Let us not wait for countries to impose on us the need for us to have a vaccine to come to the country. This is going to happen. Trust me. Because when the United States gets its herd immunity and the UK gets its herd immunity and France and other countries, they're going to say, look, for you to come to our country, and rightly so, you need to show your vaccination card. And then all of you are going to WhatsApp me and call the Minister of Health and say, boss, look, hey, Skerrit, I'm going to travel to the UK, so-and-so. I'm going to go to the US, I need a vaccine. Give me a break. Let us take a vaccine. Now, you have an opportunity to take it and to have your card. And so anytime these countries impose these conditions on us, we'll all be vaccinated in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Let us go ahead and get vaccinated, my dear friends. This is for our own good, and it will help in fighting back COVID-19. We have done well so far as a country. We behaved ourselves pretty well for the carnival. This is on our effort to show the world that Dominica is responsible. Dominica has been doing all what it can to fight COVID-19. And we are fortunate. We are fortunate. As the Secretary General of the United Nations said, more than 130 countries have not received one dose of the vaccines. We got 70,000. We thank God for that, and we thank the government of India for that. Let us go and take our vaccine. So it's a simple prick, I understand. I'll get mine on Tuesday. And everybody who was taking it, they still had a little fever, a little headache, but they're fine and they're feeling better. God bless you. Let us go forth and serve our God and our country. Let us always think positive of ourselves and our nation. Never look at the glass half empty. Look at it as half full and ask yourself, what can I do to allow my glass and the glass of the nation of Dominica get to the brim and overflow into our saucer. So God bless you, my friends. Thank you. See you next Sunday on Anupali. Thank you.
When you feel a sneeze or a cough coming, covering your mouth prevents the spread of germs. You probably knew that. But the way you cover up also matters, and that means breaking a habit you've held near and dear all your life. Cover your nose and mouth with your flexed elbow or a tissue, not your hands. Discard the used tissue immediately. Then wash your hands. Help stop the spread of germs. Remember, your health is your responsibility.
A message by the Health Promotion Unit of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Dominica.